implementation, software processes, and strategic change management. He has also consulted and trained more than 150 clients in the United States, Europe, India, and that includes Toshiba, Nordstrom, even Mindtree, and many more. He has conducted more than 300 workshops in business analysis, requirements engineering, and agile project management and requirements engineering. So I present to you guys today, Ellen Mishra. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, team IIBA Saskatchewan chapter. It's my pleasure to be here today, and thank you for a lovely introduction. Just to tell you, I do hold 2 world records in this space. I'm the very first person and possibly the only one person today who has completed all 7 IIBA certifications. To my knowledge, there is nobody else who has done all 7. Secondly, I have helped more than 1,100 professionals to get IIBA certified, which I believe again is another world record. I do this for my living, and I'm quite passionate about it. I became a IIBA certified BA probably in 2003. That's long back. And then I started working with IIBA very closely, and I have been conducting a lot of webinars with IIBA, and I spend a lot of time in training, writing, and consulting. Those are the 3 main things that I do.
That's very impressive.
Okay.
So,
let me share my screen now, and please let me know if you are able to view my screen. Okay.
I can see your screen now.
Okay. So as we know, the topic for today is to how to ace your CCBA and CBAP certification in first attempt. But it also would apply largely to any other certification that you take from IIBA, because most certification preparations are generally quite similar. They're not very different, although there are a few specific aspects we need to take care, especially when we are looking at CBAP certification. And let me congratulate all of you, those who have joined the webinar today. I know you all have a hectic work life and a family life. We are taking some time away from your family time, but I believe it's very important that you understand how to make this happen and what changes it can bring to you as an individual. Once again, thank you to IIBA Saskatchewan chapter. And in fact, I learned something new today. The word Saskatchewan seems to come from a rapid flowing river. So you must have a very nice river at your place, which is why your place is named as Saskatchewan. So what is that I will try to cover in next 40 minutes or so that I'll leave some time for you to ask me questions. But you can stop me in between as well. There is no reason for you to wait till the end to ask me a question. Trustfully, I can answer most of your questions because I have been through this process multiple times, and I have been assisting so many students in getting through the examination. Not that everybody passes in the first attempt, but a large majority of them would be about 70, not 70, about 95, 96% pass in the first attempt. Maybe 3 to 4% don't do well in the first attempt. They have to go for a second attempt. And I'll also tell you why some students don't do well in the examination. And I'll also point you to some of the useful resources that my organization, Adaptive, has created for the BA community in general. So again, I trust all of you know a little bit about IIBA. IIBA is one of the best things that has happened to the world of BAs. When I started my BA career, which was 1996, way before IIBA was born, we all learned business analysis on our own. So there were hardly any good books available on the topic. There was no body of knowledge. So we tend to make mistakes, and it's very natural. So I do remember as a business analyst, once I caused $6 million loss to a client. I should not blame myself alone, those were the times because there was hardly any support available to the BA community. And that project resulted in $6 million loss because I forgot to capture the scalability requirement. Those days, nobody bothered about scalability. Maybe the systems were a little tinier than we see today. Today's systems are much, much more complex, much, much more data. Like for us, hearing a terabyte database would be uncommon in those days. Now, I think it's pretty common. In many organizations, you have databases which run beyond terabytes. So one way it is good that IIBA is there. We have a standard body of knowledge. And of course, we have a way to prove our competence using IIBA certifications. So here is a little tiny quiz for you just to kind of warm up. And if you can pull up the quiz and run it for 30 seconds or so. Or do I pull up the poll? Let me pull up the poll. Of course it is there. Let me launch the poll. Yes. Okay, I do get an answer. A couple of you have answered. Okay. Okay. Good. So has all of you? Yeah, I think it's 100% answered. And I trust, let me show you share the results with you. So this is what we got. So few of you said 15%, some of you said 20%, some of you said 25%, and some of you said 50%. In fact, all four results are right. It's not that anything is wrong. It depends. Like for certain certifications, people do have got a pretty high result. Like we received a student input from about 3 weeks back. The student has got 86% hike in salary. So it's not that you will not get anything beyond this, but the officially reported figure is 20%, which is the average between what IIBA certified BAs have received in average, not absolute terms. Somebody could get 10%, somebody could get 30, somebody could get 40, but the numbers are pretty impressive. So we actually ran a survey ourselves for our students, and we got on average between 30 to 40%. And this year, I'm hoping the percentages will be better. In fact, I have put up a couple of slides, which is telling you how IIBA certification has helped our students. And I believe every other organization which trains students must be getting a decent result. I don't think we will be alone in this game. And those who study the chapter very well, understand the concepts very well, they obviously feel very confident in doing their work because you know that how to do it well, what are the techniques you can use. There's a lot of benefit that comes by getting yourself certified. And trust me, even after working as a BA for 25 years now, it's a long time, I still find a lot of value in going through IIBA certifications because every time I'm going through a certification, I am learning a lot of things new, which is what is one of the main reasons why I go for all these certifications. Again, another student recommendation or a note that I received where she was asked to leave the company because of this pandemic setting in, and the aviation sector was, of course, affected much worse compared to many other sectors. But sorry, she got a job in a bank pretty quickly because she was certified. So please understand, certifications not only help you to increase your salary, not only make you more confident, it can also help you during a crisis. So it's also severe for you. These are real stories. So obviously there are a lot of benefits in terms of getting a higher salary, a better career, higher confidence at work. And of course, people feel a lot more satisfied with the work that they do because now they can relate how their work is helping their company, their clients to become better at their place. So this is what I was telling you, that we did an independent survey. The results are available here as well. And 49% of our students surveyed found a better role, 58% got a salary hike, and 91% reported higher confidence. So I'm very glad that so many students did well. We still have to figure out why 10% did not get the benefit. So that's something we will try to see this year as to how we can change our method of teaching and support so that students do better. In fact, we have launched many new products in 2021, especially on the tools side, because many of the BAs came back and said they are not comfortable with the tools. So we said, okay, let's run the tools, and maybe in 2022, we may run sample projects as well, so that they are able to experience a project when they are not working as a BA. So just a link, and you can find it on our website as well, where we're trying to collate all the student success stories so that you can actually talk to these people. These are real people. You can go and find them on LinkedIn. In most cases, we would have given their LinkedIn profile already. So you can connect with them, reach out to them to see how it has benefited them. So how do we actually go ahead and make ourselves successful with our CCBA certification or CBAP certification, or for that matter, any IIBA certification? So here is one 7-step formula that I have used for myself, and I trust you will find it helpful as well. So the very first step is actually probably we don't talk about it, but this is the most important step, is to make up your mind. If you make up your mind to achieve something, you tend to achieve it. If you don't make up your mind, then it's very natural that you'll find certain excuse. I have a lot of work, I have family life, I have project pressure. Everybody has project pressure for that matter. Don't think I don't have project pressure. Being part of a small team, we do, of course, have our own set of challenges, market environment, competition. These are very, very natural part of being part of any small organization. But I trust this is very important. If you make up your mind saying that I am going to be certified by this date. So put a date in your mind. Don't put a date which is next week. That doesn't happen. But anything between 12 to 16 weeks is a reasonable time frame to get yourself certified. So please take a date which you think is realistic. And as I give you a time frame, 3 to 4 months, please try to do that and say, by this date, I will be certified. Rest all will follow. So this is what I'm trying to tell you. And please remember, those who are certified tend to get $20,000 more per annum. And these benefits tend to kick in somewhere between 6 months to 1 year time frame. So I'm not telling you that you'll get this benefit after 5 years. No, the benefits will start kicking in as short time frame as 6 months. Sometimes people get it even before that. We have students who haven't completed certification, but still have found a 50% hike in salary. That's also possible. Okay. Then, of course, there are multiple certifications, like we are talking here about CCBA and CBAP. So it's important that you choose the right certification for you. In case you are already a CBAP or a CCBA, then you have other options as well. IIBA has introduced non-core certifications like data analysis, product owner analysis. Many new certifications have come in compared to, say, 4 years back when we had just 2 certifications, CCBA and CBAP. Okay, and that's how probably the topic became CCBA and CBAP, but you are not restricted to those 2 alone. There is ECBA in case you don't have any experience or very little experience with BA work. ECBA is a good one. If you're looking at agile world, Agile certification is there, data analysis certification is there, cybersecurity certification is there, and of course, product ownership certification is the newest one to join the club. So the two parameters that you should consider, how much experience you have and what is it that you want to improve. So just to come about the two core certifications that we are talking today, which is CCBA and CBAP, usually if you do not have more than 4.5 years experience, we recommend you to go for CCBA. Of course, you should have 2.5 years or more than 2 years experience. But if you seem to have more than 4.5 year experience, you can take a look at CBAP. Although IIBA officially looks at somewhat close to 5 years, by the time you take the training and you go through the process, you may be able to cover up those experience. So this is the requirement that you must meet. Good. So any question on the requirements front? Anyone? No? Okay. Then let's look at the third step, which is to get yourself trained. Both CCBA and CBAP require you to be formally trained on BA-BOK. So that's a requirement from the standard itself. Other than the requirement from the standard, if you don't get trained, you may take a lot longer. Sometimes I see people taking up to 5 years to get themselves certified, which is very surprising for me. Okay, if you self-study, that's what happens. You are not having a plan, you don't have adequate resources, and that's how the program elongates pretty long, maybe 5 years. So imagine the loss that you incurred by losing these 4 years. So each year you could have happily earned $15,000 to $20,000 more, which means in effect, you lost $50,000 to $60,000 because you decided to do it yourself. So I would recommend you to consider getting yourself trained formally because that way it will help. And of course, there are many training providers which will give you PD hours, which is what IIBA requires, for as little as $100. I think so. There are companies which can offer you $50, $100, $200 product as well. But with that product comes no practical training. They can't train you with that kind of money. So mostly they will expect you to write emails to them and just get some support that way. Their success rates are always questionable because with so little preparation, so little help, it's very unlikely that someone will pass the exam. Especially I see CBAP to be a truly tough examination today. Just to warn you, CBAP has become a lot tougher than what I wrote. When I wrote CBAP, CBAP was relatively easy. And I don't know why IIBA made it so much tougher. And that's not something that should have happened, probably in my mind. But somehow IIBA made CBAP a lot tougher. CCBA has become a little easier compared to the previous time because it is not very memory-centric today. It used to be very, very memory-centric when I wrote CCBA as well. And some of my students really struggled with that memorization process. That's why you'll hear this horrendous stories that you have to remember BA-BOK, so many things, so many inputs, so many outputs, so many techniques. Today, these are not expected. You can actually pass the test with your understanding being in place. Of course, when you are looking at joining a training institute, work like a BA and evaluate wisely. So look at the past success rate, faculty, content, do they offer something called success guarantee, those kind of things. How frequently do they train? What kind of support would you get after you get trained? These are aspects that you should consider. Then, of course, we need to prepare ourselves smart because BA-BOK is a pretty heavy document. I believe most of you would have taken a look at BA-BOK, and sometimes I get very interesting inputs from students. So one student told me the night he doesn't get sleep, like he's not able to sleep well, he starts reading B.A. Bach. Then he starts feeling very sleepy. So B.A. Bach is not written in a novel or interesting way. It's a very strong guidebook and written in a fairly technical language and a lot of words as well. I don't know how many of you counted. I did a count of words in B.A. Bach using a program, and it threw a number which is more than 200,000 words. So there are a lot of words in B.A. Bach which you need to understand. But a lot of us are not sometimes clear about what is there in the exam, what is not there in the exam, what kind of questions come. Okay, we don't have access to good number of practice questions. This is what creates trouble. And if you are reading B.A. Bach as the core book, that's not something going to help you a lot. Especially if you are a beginner, like you haven't read B.A. Bach before, I would suggest you read something which is simpler version of B.A. Bach rather than reading the main version of B.A. Bach. There is actually one, and that's also published by IIBA. What I would suggest you to go and take a look at something called Core Standard for Business Analysis. This is something again published by IIBA, and it's a very nice one. It's called Core Standard. Let me share my screen on that. Yes, sir. So I trust you are able to view the IIBA Global Business Analysis Core Standard. Yes, Wanda?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is also published by IIBA, and in fact, my request to IIBA has been that this should be followed for ECBA. And if you look at this particular book, this is only 50 pages. So this is an abstract of B.A. Bach. Much easier to read, much easier to understand. But the only challenge here is it does not have techniques as a chapter, which is what is expected in the exam as well. So my request to IIBA has been, can we upgrade this document? We add another 50 pages for 50 techniques. And then we have a nice abstract of B.A. Bach, which is a lot easier for ECBA students and for anybody who is actually starting to understand the world of business analysis. So please take a look at that. And also remember, when you are going for CCBA and CBAP exam, there are two chapters which are excluded in the exam. One is called Perspectives, which is about 80 pages. And one is called Underlying Competencies, which is 30 pages. So all total, you can exclude 110 pages. That's a lot, okay? So this is how you smartly cut out what you need not study. Then, of course, when you're preparing for the exam, you're supposed to understand the knowledge areas reasonably well, the purpose of the tasks, how do they support each other? Those are important help. And for that, we actually created a nice mind map. I'll show you. Oh, okay. Sorry, the mind map is not in the PPT. I'll try to get it for you, don't worry. So in that mind map, we have put how each task supports the other task. Similarly, there are plenty of techniques in B.A. Bach which we need to understand. And especially if you're going for CBAP, your understanding of the techniques has to be a lot deeper. Like you understand UML quite well, you understand financial analysis quite well, and it might make sense for us to reverse map situations to techniques, which is what we attempted doing as well. Then a good number of practice questions is a must. Please understand there are many tricks being played on you when you are asked to take the test. And I have been part of the exam committee as well. So we are asked to create something called distractors, which means something will distract you from the correct question to correct option to an incorrect option. That's how the faculty and the question setters are asked. So you need to be aware of those tricks as well. And I always suggest every chapter we study, we complete, we should do 50 to 100 sample questions so that we are very, very comfortable with the concepts in the test. Then I also request every student to go through multiple simulations because the final test is quite stressful. Let me be honest with you. None of the tests are going to be stress-free. I don't think there's anybody in this world who will say, I will pass IIBA test without studying. Okay, 1 second. Sorry. Is it time up for me?
No, I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
So I just want to find out if the 2 excluded chapters are for CCBA or CBAP.
What did you say? Can you please repeat?
The 2 excluded chapters, are they for CCBA or CBAP?
For both CCBA and CBAP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So as I said, since tests are not part of our daily work routine, we are not comfortable in taking tests. For a very long time, some of you may not have taken any test. So please attempt multiple simulations so that you become very comfortable and you don't feel stressed during the test. And sometimes I have heard students not doing well in the test because they get very stressed out. I'll tell you some tips which will help you not to build stress during the exam. Okay. Then, of course, we do have a formal step to apply for the exam. The previous versions of IIBA applications were very complex. And in fact, I remember when I took my CBAP, there were 82 line items to be checked for each of the project that you have done. And by that time, I had completed 10 projects. So that means I had to tick mark 820 line items. And if I go wrong on a couple of them, then my application is rejected, which is very sad. But that's how the bad or the kind of fear came about IIBA applications. But now it's much simpler. It's not as hard as it used to be. So some of the good things that we have done at IIBA is to simplify some of our processes as well. But you still have to do it. And for that, you need to have right experience. You need to have right amount of PD hours, which is called professional development hours. And sometimes your application may get picked up for audit. Don't feel sad about it. It just delays your process by 2 to 3 weeks. So that's why we always say, apply 4 to 6 weeks in advance from your exam date. So even if your application gets picked up for audit, you still can get it within 2 to 3 weeks. You still have 3 to 4 weeks in hand to take the test. Don't try to apply today and take the test next week. That may not happen because of this audit process. Okay. Then coming to another important thing, which I would like you to highlight, because of COVID-19, a lot of students are taking up tests from home. I prefer taking tests from home because I don't have to go anywhere. It saves me time as well because I don't have a commute needed. I don't have to go and find the test center. And the availability is a lot more with the online tests. So it's up to you whether you want to go for a test center or you want to take it at home. But all tests can be taken at home. So if you are planning to take the test at home, there are few important infrastructure points that you should keep in mind. One, you should have 2 computers, one primary, one is backup, 2 internet connections, one primary, one is backup, one good external camera, because the photo ID has to be shown to the proctor. And if your camera isn't very good, the proctor may not be able to read your name very well or see your photo very well and that may delay your test taking process. And of course, you should have power backup, a clean room, and a distraction-free place so that nobody comes into that room and all, because there are many rules that are followed during the test. And for that, you can find a link. I will share that link with you as well. And let me show you the link here. Okay. So we wrote an exhaustive article. My colleague Fatima, she herself is a CBAP. So she wrote this based on her experience taking inputs from IIBA and PSI. So what is allowed, what is not allowed, what kind of break you can take, everything is written in this particular article. Again, let me go back and share my presentation. Okay. Then of course you have to take the test, because that's the ultimate objective, that we take the test and we pass. And there are a few tips that I would like to give you based on my experience and our students' experience. One, remember, most international tests, including CCBA and CBAP, are based on BA-BOK. So the questions will come based on the guidebook. So you need to be thorough with the guidebook. And what we have heard from many students is that the initial questions are usually harder. So it's better that we keep them to the end. So let's not trouble ourselves with tough questions in the beginning. So we generally ask students to start with question number 40 or 45, and then come back to these questions at the end. Then some students have a tendency to ponder over a particular question, which is not a good idea. Remember, these are time-bound tests, so you have to move pretty quickly. And you do have a choice to review and mark a question for review and come back to it later. Review the diagrams, those are present in BA-BOK, because there are questions based on diagrams as well. And questions for CBAP, which is what we call level 3, can be quite long. And as I said, CBAP has a question pattern called case questions, which is about 1 page or 2 pages long, and you usually get 3 to 4 questions based on one case. Okay. There are a few chat messages. Okay. 1 second. I would probably take the chat at the end. That way I will not lose the flow. But if you want to stop me anywhere and ask, please do that. I have no problem. But I usually have a problem in kind of synchronizing between chat and talk. Okay. Then few other things. Remember, the test asks you to choose the most appropriate option, not necessarily correct option, which means it's possible that all 4 options in the test are correct. Give me a second. One other thing I find challenging for many senior BAs, because they have been working in a particular company, in a particular sector, their practices can be different from BA-BOK. Maybe your organization has a lot more stricter policies for certain reason. But BA-BOK is authored for every type of organization in the world, starting from a 1-person company to a 15-people company like my company, and going up to a 2 million people company, which could be Walmart. So you can't apply uniform policies for everything. So you have to be aware that, are you answering as per your company practice or as per BA-BOK? Go for BA-BOK. Then also watch out for words like this: always, only. These are typically flags for being distractors or error options. And there is a technique which a lot of students follow, which is called elimination, which means you may be able to eliminate a couple of choices from the options and then focus on the 2 right options. Okay, so any question at this point in time? No? Okay, then a quick intro about what we do as an organization and how we assist our students. So we are providers of very high quality content. We just focus on IIBA certifications. We don't do anything else. So our entire time and energy goes in IIBA certification preparation. We make sure that we have amazing facilitators. I'll introduce them to you. We keep improving our process and approach to the examination. We're very proud of a fantastic support team from us. We have invested heavily into our question bank. And of course, we try to make the learning process as smart as possible. And our programs actually come with triple guarantee, which means if you don't succeed with us, we refund your entire 100% money. On top of it, we pay for your retake fees 2 times. Okay, so that means if a student doesn't pass with us, we actually lose money than getting anything out of it. And all our sessions are guaranteed to run. If they don't run, we also pay you a penalty. That way we keep ourselves under commitment. So there are many reasons why students have chosen us over a period of time. Our success rates have been truly amazing. We have invested so heavily into products and solutions. In fact, we recently launched a simulation application, which is very similar to what you will see in PSI. And if you create a free login with Thinkific, you can actually experience the simulation product as well. So plenty of resources. I don't think there is anybody in the world who has better resources or more comprehensive resources than we do. This is all that we do. So that way the focus helps us. So these are some of our reviews from our past students. You'll actually find probably 350 of them on internet, on Google, on Trustpilot, and on LinkedIn. So usually this is the process that we follow. So we have an eligibility check, which is what I said is important. So we review a profile to see whether you are ready for CBAP or should look at CCBA. We go through theory training. We do a lot of practice questions. Then we do have 2 weekends of exam preparation. Then we help you with application filing, ask you to do lots of questions again. And we do have something called a live tutorial, which is something like this, which happens every fortnight, which our students can join. So maybe you guys can join 2 of them in a fortnight. So 4 of them in a month. It's up to you. You can take a little slow or you can go quick as you wish. So these are the set of my co-faculties that we have. Laura Patton happens to be the chairperson for BA-BOK authoring team and PMIPB authoring team as well. This is me in the middle. My other colleague, Victoria, she heads Europe region for IIBA. Laura McCoy has been a strong supporter for IIBA. She was also the director for IIBA Middle Americas. My colleague, Tom Tomasovic, teaches mostly our non-core certifications. He's a graduate from MIT, Massachusetts. So you can see the kind of faculty that we engage because we are very sure that a great faculty input is the best thing that you can do for your preparation. Lots of tips. You can always download this book from our website. No, not from our website, from our application, which is LMS. Just to give you a quick comparison between how we stand and versus our competition. Our competition is about $1,000 more, but usually they don't offer any guarantee and the content is much thinner than what we have. So there's a very interesting book which you can download. This particular book has already I think about 45 CBAP questions, about 40 CCBA questions, and for other standards as well. So in case in future you're looking at CPOA or any other standard, you can actually get it here. And there's also an offer for you guys. If you sign up within next 48 hours to one of our courses, you will get $300 off. And I have given you a link which will help you with that. It's bit.ly, bit.ly, the short link, /adaptive 300. Good, that's about it. And I hope you found some value with this webinar, and we would like to see you as certified. And at least we will get to know, because if you have been a trial customer as well, we also track our trial customers saying who all are doing well and what is it that they're doing. So I hope all of you will at least do a trial registration and start the process. Okay. Good. So I'm ready to take the questions. Wanda, do you want me to go through the chat messages? Or what is it that you would like me to do?
So what I can read them out to you, and then you can just go from there.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you very much for sharing. All right, so the first question that I think the first comment that we had here was from Les. They said when they did when did IIBA mandate training in order to get certified?
It was there from the beginning. For CCBA and CBAP, it's always mandatory to have a training. Not for other certifications. For ECBA, CPOA and all, you don't need formal training. But for CCBA and CBAP, you do need formal training.
And when you say training, you mean like those like class hours, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Those are faculty led.
I hope that answers your question, Les. The other question that we had here was from, 1 second here. Let's see here, just built me. Was from Hemant. I hope I said that right.
Yes.
They're asking, understanding, is that in place of memorizing for CCBA or CBAP?
No, understanding is not memorization. Memorization is not required to a large extent. Understanding is required to a large extent. Why a particular technique is suitable for a particular situation. Okay, so what does this task tries to achieve? What does this knowledge area tries to achieve? So that's what I call understanding. You don't have to memorize this task has 4 inputs and 2 outputs and 5 techniques. That's not required.
I agree, but what I wanted to ask actually, that you mentioned that for one certification, most percentage will go in memorizing and the other one will go for understanding. So I was like,
that is V2, Hemant, not V3. In V2, there was a lot of emphasis on memorization. In V3, it is not there.
Okay. Got it. I think I missed that part.
Yeah, sorry. No worries. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying. And then we have some comments here from Mary Ann. Thank you so much for sharing your tips. She mentioned that she agrees with the advice to take multiple practice exams. And she learned something interesting about herself during the CCBA practice exams as well.
Very good.
And she also said, like, if she reads the question, then option A, B, and C, she tends not to really read the later options.
No,
Is
that's
she
not
already
right.
read the correct answer?
Yes, no, don't worry. Sometimes you may think A is correct, which is true. A may be correct as well, but B or C may be a better option. That's what I said. There can be questions with 4 correct options.
And that's what she said next. That's what she said.
Next statement was, I found it easier to read the question and then option D, C, B, A, just because for some reason it made me read all of them and not stop too early. That's just what I learned.
Well, that's a strategy that you follow. Like start with D, C, B, A. That's a good strategy.
But I wouldn't have learned that if I hadn't taken the practice exams. So,
Okay. Yes, please go ahead.
Here, we just have here more comments from her as well, saying that for longer scenario questions, she learned to read the last sentence in the scenario first. Usually that's the question. And then she goes back and reads the rest so that reading the scenario, knowing, so that she knows what she's looking for.
True.
And the
That's a good
scenario,
position. That's a
yeah,
good
it is.
position. Yes.
And she said the scenarios have a lot of unnecessary details. I assume to confuse us, and like what you said too, to distract us as we're answering the questions.
True.
But when she's focusing on the question at hand, it seems much easier to pay attention to only what matters. That's a really good one.
True.
Because then your mind tends to wander as you're reading the question too.
Yes.
So you have to refocus. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome tips, Marianne. Thank you. And then Emeka is also asking, can you share the link? And thank you.
Which link do you want me to share?
Yeah, I saw you did a bit slash.
Okay, that one. Okay, let me go there. 1 second, somewhere here. One second. Where is the chat option? Here. I will get to everyone. Okay.
And the other one also, there was one other before this.
Yes, I'll give you that as well. This is for the exam prep questions.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Let me test this link. I trust it's right, but just to be doubly sure, let me check. Usually my colleagues will not make a mistake, but it's always good to check. It's the right one. It's the right one.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. We have one more question here asking, how many times do I need to read the BABOK or BABOK before attempting the exam? And is there any guarantee to your simulation exam?
Okay. Usually for CCBA, I would recommend one thorough read for BABOK, but do the study guide couple of times, because as I said, BABOK is far more complex to understand. For CBAP, maybe 2 readings will be enough. But when I say 2 readings, I mean 2 readings. I don't mean glance. Okay, I'm not asking you to glance through BABOK. That's not reading. Reading means you actually understand every word that is being written in the book. So you have to go really slow when you read BABOK. Coming back to the success guarantee, we do not have success guarantee alone on the question bank. That's precisely because these are model questions. These are not actual questions in the exam. So questions do help. I'm not saying that they don't help, but an understanding plus questions help. Pure questions may not be able to make you pass, and hence we are not able to give you success guarantee on question bank alone. But we do give success guarantee to someone who has been through the training and has done the question bank. For those students, we do give success guarantee.
Gotcha. And Hemant also mentioned here that they agree with what you said. So Hemant, can you clarify, do you mean they agree in terms of like reading the BABOK?
No, sorry, I was mentioning about my PMP certification. So I have cleared that earlier, and I read PMBOK only once and Rita Mulkai multiple times. That was my supporting guide.
Okay. Rita Mulkai is a great book. I did study that book as well when I took my PMP, and in fact in those days it was almost like a thumb rule. Have you read Rita Mulkai? That was the question that I used to ask.
I wrote my PMP exam in 2010. actually.
Oh,
I took it in when I was in IBM. That would be 2003.
wow,
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good.
impressive. So do we have any other questions or comments? For me, I feel like what stood out for me with studying, I didn't know that the 2 chapters were not included on there. So that's completely new information for me. And also, like, I like what you said about looking at the most appropriate instead of the correct answer. Because then when you're looking for the correct answer, you get confused a little bit. But then, is it appropriate to the question? You have to ask yourself that too. So for
True.
me, those 2 things stood out. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me today here, and I'm glad we could share some tips. We could learn something from each other. And if you would like to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's very easy. I will just give you my LinkedIn name. I believe it is just my full name. If you search on LinkedIn, I think, just 1 second, let me see. I will just do that. Just search Ellen Mishra on LinkedIn or Ellen Mishra CBAP on Google. You should find me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so I generally try to connect, interact with my fellow colleagues, students, and partners on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ellen.
Yeah,
All right.
bye.
Enjoy the rest of your evening, guys. Thank you so much for
Thanks.
joining us.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.